I am going to present you about how Gitea works and what is Gitea, why we are using Gitea, why there is a need to use Gitea. Okay, so this if you use GitHub before, you would have known that all of the controls which has is up to GitHub. You are going to sign in and you are going to create the account, but all of the infrastructure is managed by GitHub, right? You don't need to manage anything. They are just going to provide you the service for it. But for us, we need access control and all of those things, and it's better to have it's better to have the management by us so that we can manage users, we can create any of the action plans and all of those things. So that's why we use Gitea to have a better control for our infrastructure. So let me share my screen and I will show you how Gitea works. So this is my presentation. So basically, Gitea, you are right, it is a self-hosted Git service. It is a lightweight and fast tool. And as I said, we have a full data ownership towards it. Now, how this Gitea we are using it, you can see we have deployed this Gitea in thing called as git.code.sql.com. But how are we using that? So that is deployed into a tool called as Portainer. Okay. So this Portainer tool is a tool which is a UI tool for managing containerized applications. So we have our own Portainer which is deployed to ops.0access.io. If you see here, this is our source control stack environment, and here you can see Gitea. Now, if you see here, we can see Gitea runner, and this janitor which I have created to clean up all the unnecessary things, and there is traffic, right? So if you can see, there are two things which is similar, Gitea and Gitea runner. So what is Gitea and then what is Gitea runner? Okay, so we will see in the moving slide what is the difference between it. But first understand what is CI/CD. Okay, so I think everybody knows here what is CI/CD is, if I'm not wrong. So CI/CD stands for continuous integration, continuous deployment, as well as continuous delivery. Okay, so we have a unified structure. In our organization, we use a unified structure. If you don't know, we have a centralized pipeline. That centralized pipeline we have called as AI Studio build pipeline. Okay, here we have a Gitea folder. Inside Gitea folder, we have workflows. Now here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 workflows. Okay. And these workflows have written some logic inside to it. This logic which you are seeing, this is a YAML file, okay? Inside this file, we have written some logic into it, which will going to do an autonomous action when something has pushed to the Gitea. And why this many workflows which we have written, what is the use case of this many workflows? The thing is that these multiple workflows are for different purposes. If you see this Cloudflare worker YAML file, it is going to deploy the Cloudflare worker into our Cloudflare environment. Okay, so it has all the steps written to it. What are the steps? If I want to say that Cloudflare worker and AI Studio build, it is going to, when we have pushed something, it is going to see the branch name. The default branch is set to main. It is going to clone the URL of the repo, use the original URL of the repo to clone it. Then what it is going to do? It is going to use the image node20 bullseye to run the Docker commands. It will check branch name, clone URL, and all of those things, because this is needed for pushing the changes. But here is the important part. Here you can see we are not hard coding any of the values. We are using configuration management. Okay. So whenever you do coding or whenever you do something related to configuration management, repositories management, deployments, and all of those things, make sure that you don't hard code any variables or any values. So this is the part 01 that you need to take care of. Then if you see moving forward, it goes to step log input values. It is going to log the input values and try to resolve the Gitea URLs. Then it will install the prerequisites which is needed to deploy, clone the repositories, derived, and all of those steps is there. It will check what is the branch name. If the branch name is main, then it will deploy to HumanizeIQ. If the branch name is eTeamProd, it will deploy to something like this. and all of those things are written here. And then if I scroll, you can see that it will route to the Gitea registry, install dependencies, and all of those things like install client, update routes, and there are multiple steps. But the main highlight is to see that this logic is going to help us to create an automated pipeline so that we don't need to run again and again, or we do not need to deploy manually. We are just going to deploy some change and it will automatically triggers this workflow. How the workflow get triggers is the main point. How Gitea knows that if someone is pushing something to this repository, it should trigger this workflow. How it will know, how it will communicate. So that thing is coming from webhook. Okay, so I will explain you what webhook is also later. It is actually a good part, but everyone are like, did you get lost or did you understand what I'm talking about? Is it clear? Yes, no, like you can say like speak, guys.
Yes.
I need some interaction.
Yes.
Okay. So basically, so my question was that how does it know that when something event or something happens, this workflow should be executed? So that he knows by using the webhook. Webhook is like a HTTP callback request, which tells Gitea that, hey, something or something changes into this repository, and that action will be triggered. How we are connected to the webhook, I will show you. So this is my repository. Suppose I go to this repository. This repository is called as Deploy Hub, which is created by me. Okay, this is an applications to managing configurations and deployments. If I go here, I will create a future branch and I will do a empty commit. Okay, I have just enter space, something like that, and I will propose a file change. Okay, it will create a future branch. Then the future branch to playtest, I will create a future branch. Then what I'm going to do is, it is just a one-line change. I will approve it. Comment. Like I am a DevOps guy, so I need to give an approval, and then I will merge the commit. And before merging, I will delete the future branch because it is not needed. Once the commit has been done, if you see here, the action got triggered. If I go here, I can see the steps which I have showed you. Setup job log, resolve internal Git values. What is the repository name? This is my repository name, right? Deploy Hub. I can check it from here. So the main part of whenever you deploy something is to see the logs. Okay, here you can see the logs also in the worker. Okay, this is the repo name, what it is doing. This has been done right. This is installed correctly, did it. Everything is tick, tick, tick. It completed its job. Okay, it got deployed. If it not, if it will show you something like this. If I go, there was some error which I was facing. Here, it will show, okay, this has been failed. Why it has been failed? You can see, okay, there has been failure because of this component. It is always written to something like that. So we need to debug this error and we need to fix that. And then if we fix the error, we can again do a commit and push the changes, or we can just rerun the pipeline if it is failed because of the network issue. But if you see this is not from my repository. If I go here, you can see this is a different repository called as AI Test Case Manager. So which means what we are doing, we are connecting multiple repositories to a centralized pipeline which we have created. So all of the repositories are connected to which repo? AI Studio build pipeline. How it is connected? It is connected by using webhook. Webhook, if I go to the my repo, how we are using webhook? If I go to the settings, here is an option webhook. If you go here, you can see the webhook is set it up. If I click on edit options, what is the webhook will say? That HTTP method is post something. When it is post, I will trigger on which event? Custom events. What are the events it will trigger on? Pull request events, pull request comments, pull request assigned, pull request reviewed, and all of those events. For which branch it will trigger? Playtest dev and main. What is the system authorization header? This is the authorization header which it will use. So that's how it is able to know, okay, this event has been triggered and I need to execute this work. Did you understand? You can ask me the questions if you are not. If it is going up to your head, I can understand. I will take it slow. You guys are a little bit of technical, so I'm going technical. Otherwise, if you need, I can pace it down. Okay. So this is how it is working. The thing is that when we do multiple projects, when we work with multiple projects, we have a habit. We kind of done two things. Okay. What we do is that first thing, either we are going to create a repository and keep working on the single same branches unless or until we are very sure that this thing is working. We are not going to push anything at all to the production. That thing we do, or otherwise we will create so many repositories or so many branches that it will mess it up. So whenever you do these things, make sure that you have a standardized process or standardized things to follow. So make sure that you have a consistent security, quality, and deployment protocols across all the projects. So for that, we have 4 branches. If you see here also code, you can see playtest, dev, and main. This is the main 3 branches which we are using, and one more branch is eating prod. Okay. So playtest, as the name suggests, is playtest, play and testing. It is for you guys. You can play around, test it around without any of the pushing and any of those things. Dev is for development purposes. Prod, as the name suggests, production. It is our production. And eating prod is eating production. So moving to the next step, we have runners, actions, and YAML. I think I have pretty much tell you what it is, but I showed you something when I showed you Potena that we have Gitea and Gitea runner. How much, what is Gitea? I told you what is Gitea, but what is Gitea runner? So the runner is basically the worker machine that executes the job in your workflow. It picks up the task from the queues and run in your environments. Okay. So if I go to runner, what does runner compose file look like? We have something called as configurations here and there is something, if you see, better to show you in here, settings, I guess. Things, actions, runners. Okay. Can you see these 3 runner 1, runner 2, runner 3? And if you see the labels Ubuntu latest, so we have deployed 3 runners, and these 3 runners will get automatically attached to any of the actions which is running. Last online time is now, whenever there is some action going on, it is going to trigger automatically, and that runner is going to attach to that. Now it is idle. When some triggers is going on, it is going to be busy on that, and it will going to attach to that, and it will finish that job. So the runner job is to run those executions and actions file. And this runners is based on Ubuntu. That's why the name is given as Ubuntu latest. The action, as I told you, individual steps within a job can be custom scripts or predefined usable components like checkout, Docker build. Then the YAML file, which is an action file, which will also called as a workflow logic. It defines the entire structure, specifies the triggers, environment variables, and sequence of job and actions. Moving forward, how this all work, I also explained you. Whenever developer push the code future branch, it will sends the HTTP post to pipeline, then it will, or runners will trigger it up, executes all the actions, and then it will create a auto PR. Auto PR, which means if you go to my repo here, if I search for Humanize IQ and go to deploy hub, here you can see in the PR, it creates auto PR from playtest to dev and dev to main. So I do not need to create an PR request. It automatically creates for me. So this is called as automation. I don't need to do it manually. It will automatically pick it up. Hey, you push something change into the playtest. It will automatically create the PR. Playtest to dev. You might need to push that into the dev. Okay. So what are the benefits of it? It reduces overhead, eliminates manual PR creation for standard promotion path, instant feedback, and error prevention, ensures every change follows the predefined pipeline without exceptions. So the if any of the organization, if you're working on of the organization, whenever you build some projects, you have your personal projects, right? Whenever you do something manually, or you are writing a YAML file, or you have deployed a YAML file, what you are going to do, under that repository, you are going to have a different YAML files, and that different files is connected to that repository. So if you think that it is going to be harder to manage all of those things at once, and this will take like maybe Anshuman has some different YAML file, Vaishnavi has some different logic into its YAML file. So like it's very inconsistent, and we need that everyone has the same process and same things to follow. So that's why we created a centralized pipeline, so that everything goes to the same manner, same thing, same way. So that is the use case of it. Then if I move forward, this is the most important part: monitoring and action logs. I showed you how to see action logs, right? If I go to the any of the actions, like if I go to here and go to UNS IQ, search for AI pipeline, here I can see the actions, and I can see a lot of actions, old actions also. I can click any of the actions, and I can see what went right, what went wrong, what this step does, and all of those things. So these are the logs. The main thing is to do for a developer is to debug the logs and identify what is the like you should know how to debug the things. If something went wrong, where to look it, how to debug it, and if you are not able to debug it, or if you are not able to fix it, who to reach it and who will help you out. Okay, so you should know where to look at. This is a very important thing. As I told you, it has real-time transparency, rapid troubleshooting, and historical audit. All logs are preserved, allowing teams to review past deployments and track down when regressions occur. Moving to the next step, we have a multi-environment strategy. So I already told you we have playtest, dev prod, and 18 prod. For playtest, there is no PR approval access. You can directly push something into the playtest without any requirement or without any approval for any of the applications or any of the repositories. But from moving to playtest to dev, although it creates auto PR, you need a requirable access from DevOps team. So in DevOps, I and Shubham is working on. So for playtest to dev, if you need to push something, you need to have a connect with us, and then we are going to see that review. Okay, how many file changes you did? Like if I go here, I can go to deploy hub. I can see this PR. You just need to send me the PR link. Copy this, send me, and I will see the file changes. Okay, what are the file changes you did? I will have a review. I will approve it, and then I will push it. So for playtest to dev, dev to prod, and prod to 18 prod, you need a DevOps approval. And why we are doing this? Because the thing is that we need to have to minimize the risk. The thing is that you are not yet ready, and we do not trust any of you. And it's not like not any of you. Most of the developers take shortcuts when they are in hurry or they need to deploy something into the production. And we need be very sure that everybody is following the process. So that's why we have this process and this many branching, so that if something went wrong also, we could fix that, or you could have worked on to that. So if suppose you push something from playtest to dev, and in dev it was failed working, or it wasn't working because of any of the issues, so it will tell you, okay, I need to fix that first, then I will push it to the production. So it will save you for pushing into the production. Before that only you identify the cause and you will fix that. So it will also allow you that, and also it will give you some moment of time to know that, okay, is it working on multiple environments? Because in my opinion, whenever you do multiple environments, it is not always possible it will work in each of the environments. Because most of the times people will take shortcuts, most of the time people will do something, they will forget about it in one repo or one branch, and they will not remember it. And in another branch or in another thing, it will fail. So you need to be very sure that everything should be consistent towards all the branches, then only it will work towards all the branches. And that's why we have this process to have a maximum stability, minimal risk, and strict change control. That's what I told you. Ensure stability to control code movement, requires a explicit approval from a DevOps person, and infrastructure integrity security before reaching to critical stages. Now, this is the one rule which I want all of you to follow. This is 200/2, the golden rule. So small and safe changes. Why we are efforting to this? Because if you aim for less than 200 lines of code and no more than 2 file change per pull request, it will allow you to effortless rollback. Okay. So if you are pushing something, a small change, like you change some part of it, like you are changing one single endpoint, or you are creating a single endpoint, and if something went wrong, you know where to look to it, right? But if you are pushing a whole application, then you don't know what went wrong. And I'm 100% guaranteeing you that if you push some application or push 1,000 to 20,000 lines of changes, it will definitely break some. Whenever you touch any of the existing file, it will definitely break something. So whenever you create a new feature, make sure that it has a separate files, and you will update the routes of that feature into your existing files. Better to have a separate files. And that separate file should not consist of more than 200 lines of code. Why not more than 200 lines of code? First of all, it is very easy to locate what is written there. I can easily review your PRs. I can easily push the changes. Second of all, it also gives AI more power to read those files. It will consume less token. It will not hallucinate, and all of those things. Otherwise, what happens if there are a lot of files, there are a lot of lines, it is going to be hallucinating. It is not going to be read it all, and it is going to be not performing well. So it's very, very much you need to be focused on this process, that there should be no more than 2 file change per PR, and there should be not more than 200 lines changes. That thing, if you follow in your daily life also for any of your projects, you will see you will literally see a lot of changes. Because we believe that instead of first writing the code and test the deployment and wait for to deploy it into the production, better to first deploy it and then test it out. Don't like if you deploy it first, then it will allow you to it will allow us also to see what went wrong, right? If you working onto your local host, okay, and if something went wrong, how will be able to figure that out? It is very hard, right? But if you work onto something and if you deploy that into on that day, if I write a single line of code, if I just design a simple HTML web, something like that, hello world, and if I just deploy it into some of the URL www.playtest.humanizeiq.ai/hello world, something like that, it is very easy to deploy that, right? One endpoint is very easy to deploy than 10 endpoints at once. So the main part is to, like, people tells you to write code, build and test, and then deploy. If you see, the deploy comes on to the second last step, and then the last step will be maintenance and all of those things. But here I will suggest you first focus on deploy. If you do your deployment right, then all is going to be easy cakewalk for you. So focus on deployment first. First try to deploy in all the environments. First have those things in all the environments. Then start working onto your projects. Okay, I deployed one endpoint throughout all the environments. Now I'm going to create one more, and I'm going to deploy each and all of those things into the environments, respective environment, still production. So here we are very much focused on deploying things into the production, because we think that if you don't deploy it, it will create a stagnation. And most of the teams, if you see here, earlier it was used to happen. Now AI comes in, so everybody is deploying their products within a month. But if you see, some of the companies are going to work on some of the products, and they are not going to deploy it till 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And then the product is not going to be used anymore, because the world is moving very fast. Okay. And if you just not going to be updated with the world, and if you're not, if you're just stuck onto just creating more and more and more and features without deploying anything, nobody is going to use that product anymore. So you need to be keep up with the world. Make sure that you deployed it first. Make sure that people use it. Then you can fix the changes, because this is a never-ending loop. There will be bugs. There will be something which will break. Right? You can never build a perfect product. You could never build a perfect project. That will be some things which is not right. You can fix it in iterations, right? So the first thing, your aim is to deploy something into the production, and we prioritize that with AI. You can deploy everything maximum into an hour into a production. It is a cakewalk. So I suggest that you focus on deployments and make sure that you follow the process, DevOps process. Like, if I'm telling you deploy something into the production in an hour, it doesn't mean that you just breaks all of the process and deploy directly into the production. Do a small change, have a PR review with me. I will approve those changes and I will push it to production. If you do a small change, it will automatically accept it. If you do a small change, it will not cause a big issue. It will do minimal issues. If it causes also, you can easily transparently fix that issues also, and it will work. And mostly with small changes, it will not going to cause issues. With large PR, it is going to have bugs, future is big, and it will create a lot of issues. So it's better to break into the smaller independent modules that can be merged sequentially. Moving on to the next part, routing versus modification. So this is what I was telling to you guys, that touching existing complex files increases the risk of regression, harder to isolate bugs during rollback. Git is a tool which has version controlling and all of those things. We can roll back at any time, but still people are very hard to do rollbacks whenever something went wrong. Why? Because of these things only. They don't know what went wrong, and there are so many commits people did. If they also roll back it is not going to work, because there are so many mess they have created with so many commits, so many file changes, so many pushes. They don't know what they are working on, because in a single project, it's not only you who is going to work on. It's going to be multiple people who are going to work on. So it is very harder to manage it. So it's better to have on the same note what you are working on. And if you are working on a new feature, better is to create a new file and only update the routes of that file, so that it will be easier to manage and it will be easier to roll back. So our philosophy is forward pushing and safety. Always push to prod. We maintain a forward moving deployment strategy. Stagnation is a risk in itself. Immediately validate, verify the environment health. Don't assume that it is showing a green tick, which means it is completed, it is working. Always when you deploy something, test it out, make sure that it is working as you expected, and always do a small changes. It has a low risk. If you reverse a 150 line change, it is simple. If you reverse a 5,000 line change, it is a disaster. So you guys are the new, you are starting as a fresh batch. So make sure to follow this process. You will literally see you are moving forward. If you are skipping one of the processes which I mentioned during this presentation, I'm 100% sure that you are going to be get into a lot of trouble. So make sure that you follow each and every process and each and every step that I'm mentioning in this presentation. It will be good for you also. Okay. So also this thing is very important. So whenever you do repos and all of those, we have a habit to create multiple branches, and then we are not taking care of it because we are very much busy with our life and all of those things. So if I go to any of the repo, I can see code, I can see branches. Now here you can see there are less branches, but many people have 10 to 20 future branches. Okay. So that is not the right approach. Whenever you are done with some future branch, whenever you done with the task, clean it up, guys. Clean it up. If some code you are not using it anymore, clean it up. Don't keep it there. Clean it up the code, clean it up the unused things, clean it up the branches. Keep a clean repository. It is better. Never stale future branches after a merge. Better to delete on completion. And the most important thing is zero hard coding policy. We follow zero hard code policy. Never, ever hard code values. All configurations, secrets, and URLs must reside in environment variable or configuration files. Never hard code anything. Okay, so what is the best and bad practices which you have learned? Basically, it is a summary of all the presentation which is you need to follow. Future change size should be less than 200 lines, not more than 2 files in a single PR. File handling, create a new file for new features. Hard coding, use environment variables configs, do not hard codes IPs, URLs, or secrets. Branching, delete future branch after merge and make sure that you are doing branching whenever you work on some future, create a future branch, merge into the playtest and push it into production or it in production. And for approvals, playtest doesn't require any approvals, but moving forward, you need approvals. So respect DevOps gates, go to their approval. If you are blocked onto something or if you're dependent on them, call them, tell them that you need it, and like, don't just, if they are not answering you, if you're not, if they are busy onto something, just don't push it by yourself. You need to follow 100%. It should be merged by a DevOps person to production or eating production. Don't bypass this gate for just quick fixes. If you're testing also something, test on the playtest branch. Don't test something into the dev prod or eating prod branch. So you need to understand it. So whenever you do something, first test it out locally, then create a future branch, merge into the playtest, test it out playtest. Playtest will allow us also to see what you are working on. If something directly change there, but don't change anything without any PR approvals from DevOps to dev, prod, and eating prod branch. And these branches have these branches are considered as 4 different environments: playtest, dev, prod, and eating prod. If you see prod, we are calling it as main branch. In companies, it is considered as master branch. By default, get called as master branch, but for us, we are calling it as main branch. For playtest, it has playtest, dev has dev, eating prod is eating prod. And by default, you need to set playtest as your by default branch. So you can set your branches by default from here UI itself also, branches, and you can set it up as a default. Any doubt, anything which you guys need to ask? Everything is clear?